golf can be perceived as a pretty expensive sport, with some new clubs costing in the thousands of dollars. But just how bad are the cheap package sets that you can pick up from a big retailer like Walmart or Amazon? Are they actually going to be perfectly fine for someone just picking up the game to learn and improve with? I'm going to share my first impressions, get some data using a golf simulator, and then finally play 18 holes on a 6,200-yard golf course. I went to Walmart and picked up this set of Ray Cook golf clubs. The reason being was that I have a friend called Chris who's been itching to try golf out properly. So if these clubs are any good, I'm going to give them to him, happy in the knowledge that they're never going to hold him back from enjoying the game of golf. Having never played a round of golf in his life, I invited Chris along to the first outing with these clubs. Taking them out of the box, the first impressions were pretty positive. They weren't broken as this set can only be bought online, so the packaging had done its job. The bag was pretty light, even with the clubs in, and it looked great. Good straps, plenty of pockets, and a rain cover. It looks similar to bags that cost as much as the entire package set. I couldn't see anything glaringly bad with the irons, and the woods looked completely legit thanks to these head covers. The grips were a little suspect for sure, but on the whole, things looked pretty reasonable. The putter was definitely struggling though. The grip wasn't lined up straight, and the head looked truly basic. But overall, we've got all the clubs you're going to need to get started, and we're ready to play golf. Heading into the driving range for the first hits, Chris found the bag comfortable and it was pretty easy to adjust the straps. Now remember, Chris hasn't even hit a bucket of golf balls at the driving range. So after explaining how to work the machine, I showed him the real basics like how to hold a golf club. With that done, we both hit some shots to see just how well the clubs were working. The irons were pretty forgiving, especially as I'd been using blades for quite a while, and they felt effortless to hit. There was a big sweet spot, and I suspected that maybe the lofts were a little bit stronger than usual. You also get a 3-wood and a hybrid in here, and I noticed that all the shafts were exactly the same. Perhaps some kind of regular graphite shaft? It wasn't that clear. One thing that did stand out about the 3-wood was just how low it was launching off the mat, and the hybrid felt like it was just a rock on the end of a stick. The shaft also started to become a bit whippy for me, and Chris was finding both of these clubs a little bit harder to hit compared to the irons. But the coolest club in the bag is the driver. At a claimed 460cc, the club head size is right up to the legal limit. So first impressions, it's not that forgiving. I did just hit one straight out of the middle. I probably was 20, 30 yards less than my normal driver. Shaft is really whippy, I think at the highest speeds. But it'll work, and it'll work for Chris. With the first swings done, it was time to actually play some golf. Savage Creek's 15-hole course filled with short par 4s is the perfect first round for Chris, and he ended up having a great time. It might have taken him a few goes to get the ball in the hole, but the clubs certainly weren't holding him back. For me, the putter not being lined up straight was a big problem, but the clubs were perfectly fine. But one thing we couldn't account for was the rain, so we wrapped up on filming and headed inside to the simulator. Using a SkyTrack launch monitor, I was interested to see just how different the numbers would be compared to my current and more expensive clubs. Before starting though, you could see that after the first round, the white paint on the woods was already starting to wear off. But would that affect the distance? Well, I mean, no. But how far were they going? The pitching wedge and 9-iron were the same as what I'd normally expect. But as I warmed up a bit, I noticed that from the 8-iron and up, things were going a little bit further, around 5 to 10 yards longer than I'd normally get. The 8-iron was 150 yards, 7, 160, and the 6-iron even went further than that, carrying almost 180 yards a couple of times. That hybrid though, it says it's a 5 hybrid, there's no degrees or anything on this one. That was a good hit. But the shaft is so whippy now. Yeah, off you go. Wow. It could be my stupidly fast tempo or the whippy shaft, but this club was erratic and didn't even go that much further than the 6-iron. Onto the 3-wood. Oh, there we go. Hey, look at it, it went up in the air. God, what a mission. 207 carry, tail 221. The 3-wood was easily the toughest club to hit in the bag. It didn't launch high, it wasn't forgiving, and the distances were all over the place, carrying significantly less than my own 3-wood by about 25 yards. The driver actually had the loft of 10.5 degrees printed on the club head. After getting used to it after a few swings, I started to get the ball onto the target line. albeit with the most insane draw that you've probably ever seen. But I was losing almost 50 yards of total distance compared to my current driver, which, admittedly, costs more than the entire bag of golf clubs that we've got here. So with my yardage gapping dialed, I wanted to take the clubs out onto my home course of Squamish Valley Golf Club to see what I could shoot off the blue tees, which measure at 6,200 yards. I'd dropped off the putter to get the grip straightened out and asked Corey from the pro shop what he thought of these clubs.
The irons don't look too bad, actually.
Oh, those grips are dreadful.
Head covers are legit.
Yeah.
These are pretty nice head covers. Oh god. I think this is made out of the side of someone's house. Uniflex, that's always a good sign. I'll be surprised if you make it through the round without breaking them. It's not bad. Once again, it doesn't look terrible. I just think that it's just gonna break. I'm gonna say 500 for that set.
390.
Not bad. It's definitely not bad. At least you're playing golf. But I don't know how long they'll last, that's for sure.
After a few putts on the practice green to try and get some kind of feeling with this club, I remembered just how awful it felt. Zero forgiveness and the most dead feeling when you made contact. The weight in the club head felt like it was in all the wrong places, but at least it was 34 inches long and fit me, and now the grip was straight. On the scorecard, Squamish might not look like a challenge, but there are some really difficult greens and it's pretty tricky to score well. But today, I want to try and break 90 with these clubs. An 18 over par score would be an ideal goal for someone picking up these clubs. So let's see if I can make that happen with my 15 handicap. Hitting my tee shot straight down the middle of the par 5 first hole, I was optimistic. I popped a 6-iron further down but drifted a little bit too far to the right, and my third shot would hit this tree. Hitting the fourth shot fat didn't help, but here's where it really starts to get tricky. With only a pitching wedge and the ball coming hot off the face, I found it difficult to get a feel for. But hitting the pin on this long-range bogey putt was a bit of a surprise, and I would be in for a double. The driver was definitely working, albeit shorter than usual, but I was in the fairway on the second. Pushing my second shot, I was down this slope to the side of the green and in a bit of trouble. Having to use the pitching wedge on these short shots was definitely going to be where I was going to lose strokes, as I would never use this club in this kind of position. But lipping out for a par, I was in for bogey. What is going on with this driver? I was almost laughing at how reliable it was being. The pitching wedge does let me down again as it fires off the face, with me having no idea how to control the club from this distance. Gambling with a flop shot because that's really all I could do from down here, my par putt comes up way too short and I end up with another double. With no forgiveness whatsoever, this putter was very tricky to get used to. The fourth drive didn't come back at all and I was way outright. Like, way outright. I ended up hitting a tree but still found the ball for my third shot into this par 4, ending up with a double on this, the stroke index 1 of the course.
This is not a hole that I was looking forward to. A long par 3, trees on the right here. I have to take the hybrid, but I just don't want to because it's such a bad golf club.
Despite hating the hybrid, I put it on the green. But the putter lets me down again on this long-range putt, and I was in for a bogey. So at 8 over par after 5 holes, it wasn't looking good for this break 90 goal. But this drive on the 6th gave me some encouragement. I figured out that really I was going to have to par these next 3 holes in order to make this goal happen. I pulled the second a touch, but still had a great line in and got it onto the green in regulation.
Go. Don't check. Don't check.
Overcompensating for that dead putter feel, I completely smashed it past the hole. But out of nowhere, I hold the putt back for a par. The most reliable driver of all time apparently puts me in the fairway once again. But I'm a bit long on the second shot, but the chip back almost goes in.
Sit. Go in.
And I put it away for par number 2. Forgetting about the wind high up onto this hole, I come up short using the 7-iron and mess up the chip. The putter seems to have caught fire though, and I've made the third par that I needed. This was on.
Come on!
Old reliable driver lets me down on the 9th, and so does the putter, and I'm in for a double. Finishing the first 9 holes 10 over par, I was actually feeling good, and was confident that I could get that shot back that I needed on the back 9.
1 over the bogey golf target
that we've set ourselves, which would be 90. Could be brought back. We brought in some new tactics for the back 9, and this is basically the 3 holes where it could all go wrong.
A less than ideal position off the tee on the 10th, the punch out from under the trees looked dreamy, but just kept rolling through the green. But I followed this up with the best pitching wedge flop shot of my life, and the crowd loved it. Lipping out on getting that shot back straight away, I really thought that I could get this done. And don't judge a hybrid by its cover apparently, as the crowd chants for a hole-in-one on the par 3 11th.
Be the club. Be the club. Be the club. Hole-in-one.
I'd hit one of the hardest greens on the course, but long putts are really proving to be a struggle here, and this is where I think the putter is making things difficult. Something to bear in mind if you're looking at this set, but I'll definitely take a 4 on this hole. My tee shot is safe on the par 5 12th, and just look at the shape of this punch out. The clubs definitely weren't holding me back from my punch draws that get me out from the trees here. On in regulation, and we have the needed par to get back to bogey golf. As much as I was going about 30 yards shorter with this driver, it cannot be ignored how much it's getting me in the fairway. But another push second shot got me caught in some trees, likely from poor alignment. On in 3 to the hardest par 4 on the course, and I was grateful to have got a bogey on this hole. Hybrid puts me in position A, and my approach is pretty much perfect. I unfortunately left my dreams of a birdie short, but check this out. We're doing better than bogey golf now. It actually felt like I couldn't fail with the driver at this point, and I hit another green in regulation and score another par. Even though I hit the par 3 16th green off the tee, I was starting to raise my expectations of what I should be achieving with these clubs. Those long range putts let me down again, and I'm back on the bogey train. It starts to get cold on the par 5 17th, and the driver leaks out to the right. Only having a 6 iron meant that the needed low stinger wasn't low enough, but after getting lucky with the trees, I'm on the green in 4. Just missing the par putt, I have 2 shots in hand going up the 18th to break 90. You clearly can't fault the clubs here. Sure, I didn't have all my usual shots in the bag, and there were some weaknesses. Only having that pitching wedge sure made it tricky around the greens, but you could learn how to handle that. Sure, the driver was definitely losing me about 30 to 50 yards on the total distance of my tee shots, but that wasn't a big deal. The feel off the face of the putter did make the longer putts tricky, and having to get the grip straightened by the shop was a bit annoying. But the irons are perfectly hittable and forgiving. Nothing broke or snapped. I put a large majority of my tee shots in play, and the bag is fantastic. Dropping in the hole for an 89, achieving that second major milestone of breaking 90 is clearly completely achievable with this package set, so they should be a perfectly good buy. With the testing done, they are clearly an ideal starter set, and it was time to surprise Chris.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
This is great. What are we doing?
Chris, we're gonna go play golf.
Golf, you said?
Yeah. But you see, there's my golf clubs, and those are your golf clubs.
To use for the day?
Nope. They're
Really?
They're your golf clubs now.
No fucking way. This is, oh, thanks, man.
Chris,
No way.
you are now a golfer.
I've always been a golfer, Paul.
And with that, we went golfing, enjoying some beers and having a great time. Chris now has a new hobby, and his journey has started. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button to let me know that you did, and subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and you can follow along my journey back to being a single-figure handicap golfer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you out there on the course.